Kelly Crooks. I am Naomi Francis. We're pleased to be joined by Roger Clark.
From the stories that shook Jamaica,
we're having an earthquake,
to those that inspired change and left lasting impacts.
In 2014, to be dealing with an issue such as the Mario Dean case.
Nationwide 90 FM has been there, diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. As we mark 20 years of dedicated service in 2025, we honor the trust you have placed in us and reaffirm our commitment to serving you, the Jamaican people. Rooted in truth, fairness, and integrity, we continue to provide incisive reporting with a foundation of accountability and respect. While we celebrate our journey, we are also focused on the future, fueled by the same passion and purpose that has always driven us. Thank you for supporting Team Revolution for 2 decades. Stay with us. The best is yet to come.
Effective February 1, 2025, our live weekend news will only be aired at 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Stay tuned to our website and social media pages for timely updates on news of the day.
None of mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Me sing. And if you pressure who know, you're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not gonna get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you up a joke.
Good evening, Jamaica. Welcome to another edition of the A-Team radio show right here on Nationwide 90 FM. Trust that you had a wonderful evening, and yes, you are correct. You're listening to the voice of Damien Scarlett sitting in this evening for Sir Dennis Brooks, and we are looking at the topic tonight, or the focus on social studies, CXC social studies. And it's going to be a great conversation because the person who we have in studio today is a teacher, a senior teacher, but he looks young, He looks on the younger side, but best believe he is a senior teacher. Each and every week we try to bring you different voices of educators across the island. This evening I am pleased to introduce Mr. Sean Phillips. He is a senior teacher and the head of the General Studies Department at the Dunoon Park Technical High School, and he's dedicated to shaping young minds, preparing students for social studies, Caribbean studies, and sociology. As we mentioned, of course, the General Studies Department. And I can guarantee that he will be back to look at the Cape subjects as we move throughout the rest of the academic year. So welcome to the show, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, great. And I should share with our listeners that he's also a former youth parliamentarian.
Well, still, because
the period is not up as yet, right? He's also a youth parliament. So teacher, senior teacher, a youth parliamentarian, well-rounded, when it comes on to education and advocacy. Yes, all right, so let's just jump into the conversation. I know the new year has begun, and students from last year, 2024, yes, they would have been given quite a bit to do, right? Even though they went on the Christmas
Yes,
holidays, they had
yes.
work to do, especially when it comes on to the SBA, the school-based assessment. But just before we get into that kind of structure, though, why do students need to study social studies?
All right, so social study is real life experience, current affairs. So what it does, it actually focus on helping students to understand society, culture, governance, regional, and also global issues. So
Yes.
that's what social studies really focus on. So if our students are actually aware of these day-to-day life experiences, then
Yeah.
now they will be better equipped to deal with the life experiences when they go out in the world on their own independently. So that is actually why social studies is important. The purpose of it is really to equip the students with knowledge about their social environment, helping them with decision-making skills and understanding the Caribbean identity, the development, and also citizenship. So majority of the students, they don't know even civics. So that is why social
Yes,
studies
yes.
is important. Yeah.
And I've been hearing within the education sector a greater call for more or bringing back civics into the
Yes,
classroom.
yes,
Helping them to understand the basics. And as you talk about citizenship, having an appreciation of what it really means to be a Jamaican.
Yes.
We talk about the society, which looks at, the family, the
Yes.
individual life and the family.
Yes.
And then we move in to talk about, as you mentioned, governance.
Governance, yes.
Why is that important as well? So, as you said, and the decision-making aspect of it, I feel as if that every subject in school now probably help you to become wise
Yes.
at making decisions. All right. So thank you for that. I'm laying that foundation. So let's talk now about how we can break down social studies in terms of the SBA, right? Acing your exam,
yes.
right? What is the component of the school-based assessment? What's that like?
All right. So the school-based, SBA.
Yes.
When students hear them think, something big.
Yeah.
Hard, only for work. So with that said, the SBA now, it is actually 20% of the overall grade. So it is really a research-based problem-solving task that the students actually have to do. So there are several components of this. You understand? So it is really looking on a social issue that happens within the community or even the school space. That is actually what it's about. So normally, I'll encourage students to look on a prominent social issue that is affecting their community or whether it is their school. So for me, crime and violence is actually on a rampant. So normally students would do research on crime and violence. But then when teenage pregnancy was actually on a high, they actually research on teenage pregnancy to find out what causes it, what are the effects, and also possible solutions in an effort to minimize the social issue that they would have actually investigated. So that is actually what the social studies SBA is about. There are several components to it, and we can now get into the very first task, which is the statement of the problem. So as stated, this actually has to be a researchable question, whether you're going to look on what are the factors that influences crime and violence in the community of whatever community that the student would actually reside in, whether it is Tower Hill, whether it is Tivoli, Rivoli, in the Spanish Town era, whichever community. So they now be looking on what caused such social issue to actually occur in their community.
Right.
Yes.
So it's almost, so you're breaking it down. So you
Yes.
have the research question.
Yes.
And then in that, you're looking at like cause and effect.
Fix and solution.
And the solutions to
as
solve
well.
that. Okay.
So their research question now will actually entail that, and that would actually be the guidance for said SBA. So they'll be looking on what caused crime and violence in their community. What are the effects of crime and violence on their community? And what are possible solutions that can be used to minimize? Because as we know, we cannot eliminate any social issue entirely, but what can be done to minimize said social issue within their community rather. So that is the case. Afterwards, we always would actually want to know why you're doing said research. What's the rationale?
The rationale for it.
Yes, the rationale for it. So your rationale now will actually highlight the purpose of why you're doing said research, stating that you have been seeing such social issue, crime and violence in your community, and you are puzzled as a student to find out why. you know, what impact it has on you living there, and also the solutions that you can now suggest to whether it is your youth leader, whether it is the councillor, whether it is the MP for the area, in an effort to mitigate such issue. So that's highlighting it.
So then it has to be a real life social issue, not something that they make up and put up in the SBA.
yes. Always encourage them to do that.
How do you know? How do you differentiate that when you get the SBA?
If it is made up.
Yes.
As a teacher for the many years, you can know when something is made up.
Okay.
You know. At times, you know how a student writes. At times, you know that they craft something online. So you know the capability of your student. There's no way you haven't been doing any form of work from September to December, and boom, January, you have an entire complete SBA.
Right.
You understand? So we know. We know we tend to track our students in an effort to assist them as best as possible. So that's the case. So we'll do our investigation. All right. So with that said, the other parts of the other component is actually the method of investigation. So when you're doing a research, you have to have a method, whether you're going to use a questionnaire, an interview, or observation, looking on. I encourage my students now to use a questionnaire, whether it is a printed questionnaire. Now we have WhatsApp, we have technology where we can now send Google Forms, Google Docs, in an effort for students to not go in and around the community, but send it via WhatsApp and etc. So
it's easier that way.
It's definitely easier that way. So normally in this section, you just highlight that you're using whether questionnaire, interview, observation, and then you define what's a questionnaire. Because let us say you just take up a SBA and you say questionnaire. Let us say you don't know what is a questionnaire. You have to define it so that we understand what you're using. Also, what you need to have in this section is the benefits of using said. Because if you're using a tool, why are you using said tool? What's the purpose of it? So if that's the case, afterwards, now we look on the data collection instrument. Normally what we do is to incorporate a letter to let your respondent know that, hey, I'm doing a research within the community to find out about X social issue in an effort to get your response for me now to help to minimize said. So
right, I want you to hold that point as we talk about the data collection. We have to collect some other things on the other side of the break. This is the A-Team Radio Show. This is our first break. We'll be right back after this, and we'll continue our conversation looking at CXC Social Studies.
You're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you're not gonna get no work, and you're deep like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off a joke. If I see them, I will you.
For over 30 years, Chris and Charles has been financing your goals, dreams, creating your great moments. Celebrate the occasion with us. Borrow $1 million, pay less than $25,000 monthly, and get 30% off your processing fees. No guarantor needed. Call 876-920-4189 or WhatsApp 876-838-9028. Conditions apply. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come unwind with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
life skills,
global connect,
and Bust the Youth. That's the Talk Up Youth radio show, Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Me sing, boop, boop, boop. And if you pressure who no book, you're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you're not gonna get no work, and you're deep like a puss. Send me granny with a purse.
Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show on Nationwide 90 FM. And if you didn't hear, we are celebrating today our 20th birthday, and I know the A-Team is a part of that history. And tonight, we're not looking at history, but we're looking at an element of it in social studies as we are focusing on CXC. Yes. And we're helping the students to understand how to approach the SBA.
Yeah, so we're actually at the data collection instrument.
Right, and where you were mentioning that we could write a letter outlining the
purpose
of
purpose of said SBA, you understand? And then now accompanying the letter is actually the questionnaires, whereas students are recommended to have at least 12 questions, based and aligned with their topic. So they'll actually have some yes and no options, and also options for the respondents to tick, to state, what they see, what they think is the cause, what they think is the effects, what they think is actually the solution. So this now will actually be a base now for your research, getting others' opinion now to strengthen your research. Because you're researching, you actually need other people to see what they're seeing. So that's the case.
Okay, all right. So you mentioned the data collection process that's there, and a part of going back a little bit to the rationale and the data collection, they have to also observe. So observation is key.
Yeah.
And where they collect the sources from is also necessary.
Very important.
Right. So where they're looking at media reports and conducting the interviews, because you'd want to have supporting data to match what
you're actually saying.
Right.
Because it was actually today that I was going through with some of my students saying that they have to have a question like, how long are you a resident, in the community? Because if you just
would speak to the
because if you just move and make ask about teenage pregnancy and crime and you just move, you don't know nothing.
Right.
So then that would actually not strengthen your research, so then the data would not be actually valid. So they have to have questions and respondents really that are aligned with the task at hand to provide supporting clause to what they're actually doing.
What if it is that you're looking at the scope of the community and then you realize that there's a greater social ill within the community compared to another one? What do they do in that case?
All right, so I recommend that they focus on what they are seeing.
Okay.
Because you can only speak to what you're experiencing and what you're seeing, because it wouldn't be valid, or your argument wouldn't be strong to talk about something that you're not aware of. It'd be a whole lot more challenging to speak about Tivoli if you're not from Tivoli. You understand?
True.
If that's
Very
the
true.
case, then you'll be speculating.
Right.
That's the case. So I always encourage to be as much as possible aware of what you're doing. It cannot be that you're making up something, because that is where the challenge comes into play. When you don't know what you're doing, when you're trying to make up information, and then you rush and do something, and then what you produce and present to your teacher you actually get a low mark. So we try to refrain from that altogether.
Well, this is why starting the SBA early
very vital
is important.
Very vital.
And not waiting until closer to the time to try to hurry come up with the data findings or the finding of the data.
And that's what a lot of students do. So an excellent teacher would actually provide a timeline for you to create, your charts, for you to do your statement of problem, for you to do the various aspects of the SBA in an effort to minimize that. Because I tend to do that in an effort to get the work done. Because we as teachers, it actually strains us when you get a barrage of SBA in, call it March.
Yes.
And it's the first time you're seeing them. And then because you want your students to get the best grade, you have to correct all of said, and then try to get back a final draft from them to help them to get the best grade, because you don't want your students to fail. So that's the case. Yeah.
Yes, and as we talk about the context of the school-based assessment and looking at data collection, right, which is really how we gather the information, and as you talk about the decision-making process, now there are some specific questions that we need to ask during that stage, right? That is critical to clarifying the kind of information that you're collecting. What are some of those questions?
All right, so some of those questions is aligned with the research question.
Okay.
Finding out the cause, what the respondents see as the cause, what the respondents see as the effects, and what the respondents see as solutions that they think can be put in place, in an effort to curb said. So those are questions that are needed in the questionnaire in an effort for you to gather such information all together to then align it in your presentation of data.
So critical words such as why, when, how, that needs to be a part of it.
Just cause.
Right.
Effects.
Yes.
Solution. Yes, so the standard as well is also age, your gender.
Demographic in a sense.
Yeah. So those needs to be a part of it. If you're doing schools as well, what grade level are you in? So forth, have you seen it? So forth.
Yeah. So for the teacher then, in looking at how the component of that questionnaire is, you're looking for specific things on the questionnaire, and it has to be linked.
It has to be linked, because if you're doing said research and it is all over the place, then how are you now going to depict what you want in your presentation of data? How are you now compiling the research together? Because if you're doing a research on teenage pregnancy, then no, you're going to have crime and violence in the questionnaire. Then no, you're not going to ask the respondents what they think is the cause or effects or solution. Then no, how you correlate the information. So it has to be linked, in an effort to strengthen your cause, your claim. Yeah. So
and then how they depict that now. So the analysis of the data. I know some students struggle there. So it's one thing to do the questionnaire, and get the information, but how they analyze it now and to do that correctly. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the analysis and interpretation.
All right.
And how many marks. Let's talk the marks that are allotted.
The marks, yes, not a problem. But before we jump to the analysis, the presentation of data is very vital, because this is where you depict the respondents' responses. Whether
graphs
you're showing the tables, the graphs of how many percentage say that crime and violence is a result of poverty. Crime and violence is a result of X, Y, Z. So you use now the charts now, and then now when you reach now to the analysis and interpretation, which is a very hefty mark, 8 marks, you are now highlighting trends and patterns and also relationship between the data that you would have collected and what you have observed, why you have stated now that you want to do said research on this social issue. So that is very vital. So it is really a comprehensive analysis of the data that you would have collected overall, analyzing said and making your claim. Interpreting it.
There's a lot.
In social studies. It sounds like a lot, but I tell my students that they do this every day. They research every day. I use very practical examples. For my males, I have an all males class. I tell them that when you want a girl, you do your research. You find out what she likes.
That's right.
You find out what has an impact on her. You find out every single thing. So we all do researches on what is necessary, and we do this on a day-to-day basis.
I like that example, because they just say you're using the real life story and application to bring across the lesson. Yeah. And I'm sure if I want to know with the man them, that will actually get them attention and get them talking.
You must say, say I true, sir.
Yeah.
I true, I mean, I say same thing on now, though. Wow. You understand? So it doesn't make sense. You try to overthink it. Best thing you do, follow instructions. When you're not aware or you're not sure, you ask for clarity. That's the best thing. Students tend to lean on their own understanding. And when they lean on their own understanding and they surf the net and find something and feel like, say, yeah, man, I eat this, and I'm going to just copy everything, switch out copy thing, and give, sir. No, it don't work so.
Right. So we see that the presentation of the data and the analysis and interpretation, those carry about 16 marks.
The most marks, 14 to be exact. 6 marks for the presentation of data, 8 marks for the analysis and interpretation. So it carries a lot. Right. Also, another part that actually carries a lot of marks is the recommendation and the statements of findings. Yes. So you now need to highlight, based off what you would have researched and what the respondents would have said, some statements. You understand? Whether it is that crime and violence is caused by poverty, crime and violence is caused by teenagers not being supervised. You know, whatever you actually find out whilst doing the research is what highlight in your statement of problem as new information to both you and your readers.
The readers, right. So then in the conclusion, then they have to present
findings.
The findings. So three clear conclusions linked to the problem at hand, the problem statement. And then the recommendations proposing 2 realistic solutions and to elaborate on the implementation plan.
Yes.
So which is how they're going to fix the problem afterwards.
How they're going to fix the problem, So just like how I talk to me youth them now, I say, all right, after you do your research, you find out after you reason with our best friend, you analyze her, you find out now, say, all right, at this now.
Yeah.
All right, see like how at this now, at this me I go do as my recommendation now. Valentine's will come up, I can buy her some roses. Oh, you go pull off, I go link our best friend and find out what else kind of chocolate she like. And then now me put everything together in an effort to attack. So
it's so like you get A+ in all of your estimates.
Well, I tell my students because you have some students that are bright, then you have some students that are hard workers. I was a hard worker at high school. I knew that I had to do it over and over and over again just to ensure that I get the result that I wanted. So if it is a case where I have to put myself in the situation to see how best I can now get this job done, that's what I'm going to do. And it is the same thing that I'm doing with my students now in an effort to make life easier. You have to use practical example that they can now relate, because some of the time the informations are very vague and boring. I can attest to that.
Yes.
So we have to bring it now to life. So that's the case. So just like that now, when we find out now that, all right, poverty is the number 1 cause of crime and violence in the community, what now we can do is look on recommendations. Are we going to have some job fairs? Just like what
the Ministry of Health
did the other day, you
University of West Indies.
Some job fairs. Is it that the citizens in the community don't have the required qualifications, to get jobs? Are we going to get hard trust in place, to do some training, some certificates, and help them to get a job?
Right.
So,
I want you to hold that point. We're going to go to another break. When we come back, much more on CXC Social Studies. This is the A-Team Radio Show. Soon come.
Good morning and welcome to the newest edition to the Nationwide News Network family on Hot 102. Good afternoon, I'm Erica Allen.
I'm Elizabeth Bennett.
In Nationwide News at this hour.
This is Nationwide. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Carol Narcisse.
Morning, welcome to This Morning on Hot 102.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Beverly Anderson Manley. Good morning and welcome.
For 20 years, Nationwide 90 FM has been your trusted source for breaking news, delivering critical updates when you needed them most. 3:37 in the afternoon, we interrupt to bring you more from the Wandon Klansman gang trial. Another guilty verdict. With fearless, fact-based journalism that unearthed the truth.
Between 2012 and 2018, nearly $5.5 million was taken from the track legend.
And insightful commentary that sparked meaningful conversations and shifted perspectives.
Welcome to the front page. I'm Emily Crooks. I am Naomi Francis. We're pleased to be joined by Roger Clark.
From the stories that shook Jamaica,
we're having an earthquake,
to those that inspired change and left lasting impacts.
In 2014, to be dealing with an issue such as the Mario Dean case.
Nationwide 90 FM has been there, diving deep into the issues that matter most to you. As we mark 20 years of dedicated service in 2025, we honor the trust you have placed in us and reaffirm our commitment to serving you, the Jamaican people, rooted in truth, fairness, and integrity, we continue to provide incisive reporting with a foundation of accountability and respect. While we celebrate our journey, we are also focused on the future, fueled by the same passion and purpose that has always driven us. Thank you for supporting Team Revolution for 2 decades. Stay with us. The best is yet to come.
Me sing, bop, bop, bop. And if you pressure on no more, you're illiterate and foolish.
Welcome back to the A-Team radio show. Tonight we're looking at CXC Social Studies. You're listening to the voice of Damon Scarlett. My special guest this evening is Mr. Sean Phillips. He's a senior teacher and head of the General Studies Department at the Dunoon Park Technical High School. And just to share a little bit more about Sean, he has his experiences in youth advocacy. As I said, that he's also a youth parliamentarian of this current cohort, right? And he loves teaching, loves social studies and Caribbean studies and sociology, right? And he also teaches social studies at the Michael University College's School of Continuing Studies as well. So quite a busy guy. I don't know how you find the time to do all of that, but clearly you love teaching. Tell us a little bit about that.
Whoa. I must say it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to balance, but as everybody that I know that is doing something that they're passionate about, is the love that you have for what you're doing. And actually, when people know that you're very passionate and you love what you're doing now, they will actually give you the opportunity now to apply your trade, to do your thing,
right?
To help out, to assist. And I am all about nation building and helping our youths, to strive. So if I can do it and make myself very uncomfortable, not have no time for myself, you understand, and get the job done, it's a joy to have my students passing. When results come out and your students come and say, sir, me pass, me get one, Even the ones that say, say me get a 3, sir, me try. You feel good because at least, you know that you helped a student. You encourage a student. Some of the times the students will say, sir, sir, because of you, why? Me pass and me do it because of you, because you just believe in me.
Yes.
You understand? So, those things come like fuel to the fire, to get the job done.
Well, sound very motivated. Well, we were talking about the school-based assessment, and we're really grateful when we have young men like you in the classroom. Also can inspire the young men and the young women as well to do well, and it paves the way for what we want to talk about now as we look at the importance of the SBA in the exam success. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why they really need to do the SBA. How will it help them in the final examination?
All right. So the SBA, 20%. Once you get 20%, you have your foot in. You start with something. You have something in the basket. Your basket not empty. So if you get 39 out of 40 or you get 40 out of 40, you're starting with something. Me tell my students say it's a cushion, whereas you don't have to work as hard as when you're starting from 0. So if you can get a 39 out of 40 based on the quality of work where you put in, then now you're almost there. You're not starting half empty, but half full.
So there's hope.
There's hope, there's hope.
Yes.
There's hope. Yeah.
So they need to know the syllabus and prioritizing
areas such as, family, population, regional integration. Jeez, when students hear regional integration, that topic is normally a killer. Also, government. Government is also another topic that students tend to feel is very difficult because it entails a lot of reading as well, understanding structure of the government, the function, what the government does, you know, the different types of government and so forth. So with that said, no, they actually need to know the syllabus and prioritize certain topics, because some topics are actually a breeze, like family. You know, we all can define what is a family. We all know the different types of family that exist, whether in the Caribbean or the broader society at hand. So we know stuff like that. Those are real life things. We all experience an election. So we know, you know, what is voter participation, how, you know, we can get other people to vote, or we can get our young people to vote, you know. And there are young people as well, so getting response from them to state what would actually make them vote, you know, is actually like a steal, a giveaway.
Right. And, you know, so putting it into context then, starting the SBA on time and making preparation and proper time management, of course.
Yeah.
And what is the feedback like? So can the students, based on where they are, give that part of the work to the teacher to get feedback, they know that they're on the right track?
That is actually key, because let us say you do up to the questionnaire from October. Majority of the time SBAs are doing in February. If you do all of that now in October, and I can give you correction, and then now you correct based off my recommendations, and then when you start out that, then you finish up everything by December, then you as a student, so I say bingo. Because if you can get those corrections and fix it up, and then now make me look back on it again until I say, all right, me see you incorporate that, just put in the next little piece here, and you're supposed to get a decent grade. Then you're supposed to, all right, versus now, you know, say the submission date of February, and you come with a barrage of things, and be a mistake.
And it's rushed.
And it is rushed, and everything all over the place, and you're not following the rubric as well, which is very vital to see what is necessary and the criteria in each section. Then now you're going to falter. So that's the case.
Which section of the syllabus would you... Well, I know you mentioned the government and the regional integration, but are those the only two areas that you believe that the students struggle with?
Yes. I think that they struggle with that section because it is started heavy. And also regional integration, regionalism is not only focusing on Jamaica, but the Caribbean itself. So, you know, to really apply the information to know what's going on in Barbados, to know what's going on in other Commonwealth countries, you know, they tend to find that very tedious, you know. So that's the case.
So it's really diversity then across the Caribbean region.
So it involves a lot of reading, and we know that for our students, any topic that involves a lot of reading and it is not practical and they can see it, then they can answer it.
That's a real problem.
That's a real problem. So
and so paying attention to current affairs, reading or watching the news, listening to the news, those are some of the things that will help to broaden their scope and the perspectives that they have. So even as they approach the syllabus, they can say, oh, well, I read this or I heard this, so I know how to tackle that issue.
Definitely. So kind of off subject, I must say. For even Caribbean studies, you know, for Caribbean studies now, I would have stole one of my lecturers', you know, crafty recommendation, whereas whereas she recommends now for students now to be responsible for our country in the Caribbean, whereas they will now share information based on the news article in those countries, so that they are not only knowing about Jamaica, they're knowing about Barbados, they're knowing about every other Caribbean country in the region. You know, what's going on with them, so that they can now link it back to Jamaica. And some of the times we are all facing familiar or similar challenges. Yeah, because if you ask a student what's happening in Munster right now, they don't know. Trinidad, they might know. Some students do not know that Trinidad is actually, you know, they have a president and a prime minister. You know, so they don't know some of those stuff. So if you should ask them, you know, to suggest another Caribbean country that is a republic, they don't know that other Caribbean countries or Republic countries.
And to understand the current context of Jamaica and the discussion that we're also having as we become a republic. Right.
Yeah, they don't know, what's a republic. So you actually have to teach them, said info.
All right, so the importance of the SBA and study strategies to get the grade 1 or the grade 2. The importance of study groups as well. Not being isolated but working together.
Yeah.
Right.
Very important because, as they always say, iron sharpens iron. You maybe know family. You maybe know government. We learn from each other.
So it's like you take a section of the syllabus and you master that and share that amongst your fellow peers.
That is ideal. We have to do that. Each one help one. So this can be now, you know a specific topic. You realize that I am weak in a specific topic and you are strong in that area. Then now we pull ideas together in an effort to help each other. You understand? You have some sections on the paper that ask, to suggest a recommendation and then to justify same. Maybe have some recommendations for teenage pregnancy, for crime and violence, and then you can justify them as well. So sharing information is very vital now, whereas we can help each other. Because if you are performing at a one and me say you smart, I mean I go par because you have a rub off on me. So I have used that strategy even in high school. I wish about the bright print because me play ball when we there high school and university. Anyway, the bright people them there.
They say that.
Yes, some of them. Because some of the information are going to spill over upon me.
And it's funny as you said that because, back in the days, when we were in school, I try to help somebody to come up to your level. Yeah. And then them just surpass you. I just got I said that, you get the A plus or the 100 and me get 90 or 85.
I mean that because me not no pride. Me not no pride and no ego. Me just want to get the job done. So
and to get it done properly.
Get it done properly
yes.
Because you know what I mean. When you play sports and you're at university and you're at high school, you have training, you have this to do. So me want to see how you do it, and me try to mimic it as because you're better than me. Me try to mimic it. For ensure say me can do my thing and share it.
Right. We're having a great conversation with Sean Phillips. He's a teacher at the Dunoon Technical High School. When we come back, we're going to touch a little bit on some exam writing tips. That will be the final segment of the show. This is the A-Team Radio Show. Sunko.
You illiterate and foolish, you might turn a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off the joke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You puke, we look and say, if you not have no education, people treat you like a book. Turn you in a handyman.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come unwind with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
life skills,
global connect,
and Bust the Youth. That's the Talk Up Youth radio show. Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Exciting news! The Design Studio on Nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the Design Studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder.
Me sing, boop, boop, boop. On every pressure, no more. You illiterate and foolish, you might turn a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off the joke. If I see
Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show on Nationwide at 90 FM. We're in our final segment, and my special guest this evening is Mr. Sean Phillips. We are talking about CXC Social Studies, looking at the component of the syllabus, breaking it down, talking about how you can ace your examination.
Yeah.
And by paying keen attention to the timelines, the submissions, and getting feedback from your teacher is important. All right. Just during the break, I was talking to Sean about the fact that as you look at the SB and you come up with your problem statement, or you identify the social issue that is there, the social issue. I wanted to find out how students navigate that, because you might find that within the classroom setting, there are a number of students who come from underserved communities, inner city communities, where the actual problem that is identified affects them. How do you motivate and encourage a student now as they're going through the social studies SBA to navigate that moment?
All right. So what we tend to do, because as stated earlier, social study is a real life.
Yes.
Real life, current affairs. You have students that experience crime and violence. You have students that are affected by crime and violence. They have family members that were gunned down, whether it is by police or gunmen or whatsoever. So they actually know what it feels like. They know the cause. They know the effects. They themselves can come up with solutions because they want to feel safe. So, we have students that experience child abuse, very serious sort of abuse. So they can tell you. So it is more of allowing them to choose, the social issue in an effort to ensure they are comfortable with said. So we give them the power to do that, because you don't want to place a specific social issue on a child. Let's just say you have a student in the class that is, having suicidal thoughts. Then you give them suicide to do. You understand? So we actually allow them.
So safeguarding them.
Safeguarding them in a sense, not letting them do something that really affects them and that is very sensitive to them, because these topics really evoke a lot of feelings once you're aligned to them, given the community you're from. So we kind of do that. Give them the license to choose.
And to be a kind of support to them and to identify when there are certain triggers, as they're navigating that process.
And some students, while they'll actually experience, as I stated earlier, they'll actually want to do the research as well, in an effort to help others that are experiencing what they are experiencing or would have experienced prior. Because now you're helping others by sharing your SBA afterwards, and a research that you would have done on teenage pregnancy. So now you're helping maybe now your younger cousin now to understand what caused it, the effects. So now when she or he reads it, he can say, say teenage pregnancy, if me get involved in a sex very early, this is one of the effect.
Yes.
You understand? Yeah, so it helps. It helps.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember the name of that course that I did when I was in university. It's been a long time. But our thesis was surrounding teenage pregnancy. And man, the research was very heavy. It was not an easy research at all. But exam writing tips, Sean. There are some keywords that the students need to understand, that they need to look out for, because one of the things with English language, it's very dynamic, it's unique, and there are similar words that when you look at them, you might say, oh, but this is saying the same thing, but really it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. So let's talk about some of those keywords that they need to understand and how they structure their responses.
All right. You said a very key thing earlier, understanding question. Before we reach the keywords, students do not understand the question. See, because they don't understand the question, they can't write the right answer. So what I tend to tell the students is read the question more than 2 times in an effort to understand the question so that you can now write. Then now we can move to understanding the keywords that are associated with said questions. Now CXC is even bolding whether it is to explain or to list to.
Yes.
You understand? They bold it now that you can know, say, a two way ask you from my boss.
Yeah.
Explain this for me, my boss. You understand? So explaining, describing, evaluating are keywords associated on the paper. Also justification. You understand? How you justify your answer. Those are very vital. It cannot be that they're asking you to explain and you think that they're asking you to list or to state. When they ask you to explain now, you're going in depth. You know, when mommy come home and the plate them and wash up, she ask you to explain. You're going to give her something extensive. You can't just state something.
Yeah.
You know, liquor will kill you.
Exactly.
Like you don't care. So that's the type of things that students need to understand. If they want you to explain. If they want you to state, you state. You understand?
Right. So reading the question
carefully, yeah.
Analyzing, then going to respond.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick example before we close out. Looking at the matter of unemployment.
All right.
How would that structure a question first? Then?
All right.
And then let's break it down for the few minutes that we have.
So, structure question. What are factors that cause unemployment in the Jamaican society?
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can ask, explain some of the reasons that influences unemployment in the Jamaican society.
All
So
right.
with that said, no, you know have to go in depth, you know, explaining. If they ask you know to list some of the common factors that cause unemployment in Jamaica, then no, you'll actually say poverty, lack of qualification, da. But if they ask you know to explain now, you know you'll actually have to go in depth now, stating that all right, unemployment is caused by the lack of qualifications that students will actually have, not leaving high school with the various requirements to now further their education and equip themselves with the proper documents to get a job. Unemployment can be because of crime and violence. They are living in a community that they are now experiencing the repercussion of the identity of said community. So because of stigma now, they are now not getting a job.
So then, identifying the factors doesn't necessarily require a thorough explanation, or the question has to say explain first.
All right. So then now, if the question now asks if you explain now, you go in depth. If the question now asks you to list or state, you just
list or state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if the police pull you over and them ask you if you state something, you got to state it.
Jamaicans go explain.
But Jamaicans go explain. So you see now, we really and truly know to explain or state, you know, because if the other day a police officer pulled me over and state that I never have on my seatbelt properly.
Properly.
Okay. Right. So me start explain now if you say I had on my seatbelt properly. When you stopped me, what I did now was to lean forward, and because it was bugging me, you know, I put it over my head now, and I still have on the other strap just to talk to you.
Right.
So imagine now if me now go state right there, so me that get a ticket.
That's a problem, right?
You understand? So we know how to explain and we know how to state. What happened now is that students now, they don't read the question. So when they just glance the question and say, oh, me think me know the social studies easy.
And the thing, you know, what the question paper, you know, it always starts with the instruction, you know. First thing, read the instructions carefully. You know, I find the same problem that I have with students when I lecture, I give examination question. They don't read it, you know. And the key to mastering the paper is right there, you know. So understanding that, as you said, these keywords, describe, explain, evaluate, state, list, you know, those words are not just there because we just want to have a whole compound sentence. No, it's there for a reason, because it's helping us to identify, right? And as we go though, how can we help students to manage the exam stress and the exam pressure?
All right. students need to be responsible. They are old enough, even though they need the guidance, they need to be responsible. They need to understand that what is at stake is very important, and it can help or contribute to what's to come for them, their future. You understand? Some of them will say school now makes sense for them, or some of them will say school makes sense for them. So managing exam stress is very important, whereas you actually have to start early. They said that proper preparation make you reap the success that you want. It cannot be that you want a grade 1 or a 2 and you're studying the night before exam. Them always say, yeah man, it's swatting thing now. Them always say victory love preparation. And if you are preparing versus cramming information, or try to put the book in your head the night before the paper, then you're not going to pass.
Yeah.
That's the case. You need to rest well as well. Because if you're going to the exam tired, you're going to drop asleep. You're not going to perform. So think about yourself as a machine.
Yeah.
A well-oiled machine that is ready and equipped for work.
Well-oiled machine, ready and equipped for work. I give it the last 30 seconds to your Dunoon Tech students who are perhaps listening either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And the wider students, nation at large, they are also listening. Parents are listening.
Yeah.
What are your final advice to them?
All right, so my final advice to them is that students, especially my students, big up on yourself.
And face light over those feet.
Yeah, I love them dearly. You know, me go above and beyond for them. I just want them to understand that life really relies on them. The choices that they actually make, you know, not only for social studies, but the maths, the English. As long as you start early to study, practice. You know, me reason with my youth, I make them know, say, the best set of football players, sports people, they train every day. They train every day because they want to be successful. We know, as youths while going to school, we know say, that our work. So in an effort to let ourselves be proud and our parents proud, we have to put in the work. You know, this is our job. So this will actually propel us now to the next level. So with that said, students, I'm encouraging you to study. Practice. You will see the results. Students, it is not going to look good when you go to high school for 5 years. And then when it's the results time, you're not seeing the result that you want. You're disappointing your parents, your peers, your other family members, you know, your friends, your far cousin, your near cousin. When they ask, oh, you're going there, and you're embarrassed, and then some parents will actually send the children to an evening class. Or some students have to go work.
Yes,
you understand?
That's true.
So life now, you know, it is really in your hands based on your performance. So with that said, students, I'm encouraging you just to do what you know is necessary and needed to be successful. We all know the ingredient. If we plant yam, we expect yam. But you cannot be lackluster, not performing, and expect to get a grade 1. So please, prepare, so you can get the victory that you want.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight, Sean Phillips, a teacher at the Dunoon Technical High School. He is the head of the department for the general studies, and as you said, victory loves preparation. Tonight we looked at CXC social studies. When we come back, we're going to be switching it over to Cape sociology, and we'll tell you when Sean will be back to talk to us about sociology. I want to say thank you to our technical operator Andrew Anderson, and to each and every one of you. Have a wonderful night, a great weekend. Shalom. This is Damon Scarlett.
If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You puke, we look and say,
it's the weekend and the youth are taking over.